Thanks for your beautiful comments there, Morphi. Yeah, very reassuring. I think it's great to even, for any person to try to be a better person. In actual fact, the teachings that we're dealing with, it does have 12 attitudes and responsibilities of mastery, and which is a very good code of behavioral things and beautiful things that would help to build the structure of your anatomy just through the actions of them, and the thinking about it, and it's quite beautiful and wonderful. This teaching actually goes a bit further to say that there was a particular set of teachings in the earth from which all current teachings have been derived. In other words, there was an original regenesis program on the earth, you might say a realignment mission, with a seeding of consciousness into what we call 12 legions or 12 tribes around the 12 stargates on the planet. The 12 original stargates being vortex energy sets of communication through grid lines on the planet to transmit energies and frequencies of genetic coding, etc., to the species, to the humans, to the animals and everything else that's here. So the earth itself would have a beautiful base pulse rhythm frequency and genetic coding, encryption codes holding the full matrix of a morphogenic field of everything that is held within the structure of the earth hologram, and it would be pulsed out through communication through the 12 stargates, etc., and the grid lines of the earth. But the role of the angelic humans, or the indigo template creatures on the planet, or any other higher dimensional entity realities working together with the realignment mission here, regenesis. The purpose and role of these particular people on the earth would be to work in communion with the Mother Earth grid, to stimulate the earth grid, because we would be like the guardians of the earth. Here our responsibility would be to distribute energies, control energies, and evolve consciousness up to a high frequency where all of the matter base would be regenerated into full communication with itself and all the species and everything else. But that became sort of distorted when intruder race lines came into the planet to plant their own agenda into the control grids that operated the frequency transmission of the hologram. So, there's been distortions and intruder race lines, invaders, a lot of distractions have happened, to the original Christic mission. Now, Christic would mean the original template of the blueprint of life, which would be the foundation stone of perpetual motion life everywhere in the cosmos. And these distortions have come in. Hi there, Matthew Taman. These distortions have come in to the Earth hologram and been distributed through various frequency fields, which we all would be attuning to. Say, for example, there were some race lines brought into the Earth Regenesis program to add codes and teachings into the genetic morphogenic field of the evolving consciousness. These would be added in through hybridization into genetic structure, genetic material, and also through training, through, like you say, dharmas or teachings would come in, and people would learn the technology of the holographic form of their own anatomy, the earth anatomy, of the solar structure, the galactical structure, up and up and up into cosmic dimensions, and how energies flow. So people would be taught, how to do that, right? But the distortions have come in where intruder race lines, invader race lines, have actually brought some destructive genetic coding into, you might say, hybridization amongst the evolving race lines on the planet. And so Earth became a species that was becoming hybridized and controlled not only by genetic coding but by other teachings that came in, and distorted teachings that came in over time to hold us away from the knowledge of true teaching and alignment and energy manifestation. So the structure of the earth today is very dilapidated, and as you said previously, the controls that come in through the governments and everything else, they're running agendas here. They're teaching people very, very, very distorted practices and shut down codes of command, and people have lost their own true alignment whereby they would achieve an ascension process through their own connection with a higher source. And their connection with a higher source would automatically be giving them frequency transmutation codes coming down from their own higher structures of consciousness, transmuting dilapidated DNA codes and false teachings, and people would be trained and aligned with cosmic structure and everything else that would enable them to ascend off the planet. They would be able to, transmute the biological deformations and distortions in their templates here, and actually get communication back within their own structure, within the Earth structure, and evolve off the planet into high dimensional fields of evolution. That was what the original process was here, and the intention for the ascension of the planet. Well, as you can see and look around you today, it's not like that now. Every teaching on the planet that's of man, or in schools of thought here, even though some of them seem very, very lovely, every religious form is a distortion and a derivative of a higher form that was true. So even though every religious form and some of the forms of teaching on the planet have certain truths within them, there's a lot of distortion and energy manipulations within those as well. So people on the planet have got a very mixed bag of information about their self-identity. And what's happening today really is people are still in a death mentality. People still think that it's natural to get old and die. It never was an organic thing. It's not natural. Death is not a part of life. It's not life and death. No, that's not organic. Life was the way whereby you would come into fetal integration here into the womb of your mother, and at a certain time in the biological tissue of your body, your atomic structure, you would start to integrate your higher frequencies of spiritual anatomy into the atomic structure or biological form, and you would tether together the codes of your higher dimensional structure and download them into your body form, and then you would come into integration within your body, and you would make certain quantum leaps at certain time cycles within your body generation, whereby you would download your higher structure into your atomic form, and you would evolve, making quantum leaps into high dimensional structure, and eventually transfigure the body into a living light structure under full control of your own consciousness, and you take it out into any space-time continuum, any space-time location that you wanted through the maps of consciousness that exist as a cosmic structure. You would have that as your own knowledge. But today, it's very, very far fallen from that, and people have got no idea of the cosmic structure, of the hologram, how you create your own hologram, what are the natural layers of your body and dimensionalization, how does the atomic structure upgrade. Every atom has a half-life, and it's degraded at its core, and other parts of the atomic structure are degraded. There's a falling down of microcosm even within inside the atom, and so there's a matter-based depletion, and that's why everything's in a state of decay. We can upgrade right from the very, very first particle of consciousness through all the integration of the multidimensional structure. We can upgrade the light quotient and communication of all the information that's in our natural template of life. We can upgrade it, and that's what this teaching's about that I'm talking about. It's Kathara healing. It's called Kelontic science, and it's here in this planet at this time, in this stellar activation cycle where we need it the most. It's available now because of cosmic alignments. It coincides with the black hole vortex Death Star Merkaba technology, which is currently plundering the planet and working through all of the systems here to deplete our energy. So it's coming in at a time where the black hole alignment is extracting our energy and causing massive decay within our structure. The living structure spiraling energy is running like a dual time wave at the current time in the stellar activation cycle to help to hold us from complete collapse down the black hole. And there's a lot of stuff happening, like for example the sun with its ring collapses. The prana seed in the center of the sun is no longer functioning. It's been interfered with, and the sun is in a death throe, and so will all the planets be in a death throe, and so will all life and species on the planets be in a death throe because of the degradation that's happening through the black hole interference. So this is what we talk about in Kathara healing, Kelontic science. That's why my website is there, to point people towards the technology and the possibility of regenerating themselves and receiving what we call the host living memory matrix transplant, which enables you to decode from the black hole hybridization codes in your own genetics, and also the control systems that run in this physical outer realm, you know, through education, through media, through everything in the system here that actually shuts you down. How you can decode from it in this very important place and time where we find ourselves today. And so it's more than just another teaching. It is, what they say, the original teaching from which all things have fallen. And all things would plug back in again, you know. All things would plug back in to this structure of perpetual motion life flows and regeneration. And perpetual motion life would take you on into eternal life and light and liberty in higher evolutional cycles of consciousness. You know, it's limitless expansion into great diversity and multiplicity of unity, whichever way you want to go. It's all there for you, but you've got to get past this burden and this barrier of the control structure that shuts us down genetically through the magnetosphere of this earth. What I could talk to you a little bit about is how this earth is actually structured with containment fields. For example, when we found out the structure of consciousness right from the core of the planet Earth, right up into the crust where we're sitting on, you know, we're standing on a crust on the Earth here, which we call dimension 9 in this, what we call a harmonic universe. There are inner structures within the Earth, and there's also life biomes within other mantle layers inside the Earth, and there's also living structures up above our platform here on the surface of the Earth. There's higher, what we call sky cities and everything else on different dimensional structure. There's also a hosting star hosting this planet Earth to resuscitate it and keep it in a perpetual motion flow, or to keep it breathing whilst we are regenerating. So there are structures all around us in spherical energies with layers in between. And some of these layers are harmful layers which have been put on reverse spin, reverse flow, reverse sequencing of genetic coding, and there are many distortion fields within our templates. So the three major distortion fields would be what we call the dermanet, right down inside the Earth core, which would be what we call a hibernation zone, which influences us. And there's places in there like Shambhala, Agartha, Oz, Telos, and other places, you know, like Olympus and things like that, where there's interfering factions coming into our consciousness from these distorted fields. And there's also higher fields of influence from the infranet, which we call the density, what we call dimension 4 and 5, false Christ consciousness dimension, and false ascended masters consciousness level at D4 and 5. And we also have the electromagnetosphere, or the Metatronic net, which runs around our ionosphere or up in the Van Allen belts, which is actually a controlling frequency electromagnetic net field that contains us from reaching higher dimensional structure. Now, all of these three nets, the dermanet, the infranet, and the Metatronic net, they all influence layers of our own body manifestation controls. For example, the Metatronic net controls our epigenetic overlay, in other words, what switches off and on in the DNA chemical template as our manifestation of light emission to cause our reality fields. And the unigenetic underlay, which comes from beneath us as our potential DNA living memory matrix, is also shut down. And all that is existing now basically is what the science would call 98% junk DNA. And we're living on virtually 2% communication in the biological form between the 15-dimensional structure layers of our holographic anatomy. So we're virtually shut right down because of the controls that have been put in by interfering race lines through their technologies, causing the planet to come down to a very dense, shut down, low communication, lack of ascension planetary system. We haven't got ascension availabilities unless we come into a hosting arrangement whereby we can negotiate through these obstacles and gain alignments and encryption codes to regenerate through the matrices through their hosting support. And yeah, that's right, Matthew. Yeah, they're in a point of breaking down only through our participation with communication with a host, what we call the host arrangement. As we are communicating with the living host, which we call the Guardian Alliance, we're going on spiritual journeys with parts of our anatomy to find our way through some of these devastating zones and find our way into safe zones, picking up encryption codes and downloading into our anatomy, and we're virtually punching holes through some of these structures that contain us. And the more people who get involved in the shield or the field of energy work that we're doing here in the hologram of the earth, the more people would feel the energy increase and availability of the living codes in their own anatomy. So yeah, it's happening now because the time is here and the codes are being, you might say, bonded into the shield or anchored into the earth shield and shared with the creatures on the earth, you know. So it wouldn't be able to happen unless people who were here were actually anchoring the codes into the earth shield and sharing them into the shield so that others can pick up on them, you know. So it's quite an amazing thing. So yeah.